Grace to you and peace from God our Father and our Lord Jesus Christ, King of all kings. Do you remember how the Israelites whined and whined for a king? Whined and whined for a king, and God said, you won't like it. You're not going to like it. And they whined some more and complained and whined, and God gave in. And that didn't turn out so well for them. But God let them experience that because they kept asking, and God gave in, I think. The kings that they experienced, that the Hebrew people experienced, were, some were good, some were bad, some were horrible. So they have this history in their life together and model of what a king should or shouldn't be. So we celebrate this Sunday, this very last Sunday of the church year, Christ the King Sunday. And it's a relatively new festival Sunday in the church, starting in the early 20th century, around 1912 or 1920 or something, to lift up the reign of Jesus, to emphasize his crucifixion just before we start Advent. Isn't that a curious thing? Well, the two cannot be separated. The two are together. And when we talk about Christ being king, it is always because of the crucifixion, because Jesus went to the cross and gave himself completely for those whom he loves. Well, I don't think the Israelite people learned anything from having a history of kings, because they expected him to be a different kind of king than he was. His kingship was all about being a servant and giving of himself. Now, what king or national ruler do we have a model of doing that? Putting others before him or herself, serving and loving others, giving of themselves completely. We don't have that model, and neither did the Hebrew people. But God said, to you I will give the Son of David, the Messiah, who will save the people from their sins. This kingship is something that turns everything on its head. It's not a kingship of glory, of majesty, of might, of everything turning out peachy in the end. It's a kingship that leads to the cross. It's a kingship that doesn't, Jesus doesn't surround himself with all the upper echelon sort of folk, the upper society. Jesus surrounds himself with the poor and the lost and the sick, the imprisoned, the hungry. And can you imagine being on the cross, suffering as he did, to be able to say freely and with love, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. What a model for us. We can only hope to get a wee bit close to that. But we can ask our Jesus to forgive folks through us if we cannot do it ourselves. And Jesus does it anyway, but that helps us. That softens our hearts, I think. In that place called the skull, hanging there between two criminals, everybody throwing barbs and jabbing him, even the one criminal who said, "Come on, Jesus, save us." if you're really the Messiah, get us out of here. And the other says, do you not fear God? Don't you get it? We're guilty. We wronged folks in whatever it is that what we did. We hurt other people. And he has this kind of sense of irony. He doesn't ask for forgiveness. He does not seem to be sorry necessarily. We don't have that part of the script. But he does get it. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And Jesus says, you're going to be with me in paradise. Boom. This is an example of the kind of kingship that Jesus lives and reigns. Jesus recognizes the marginalized, the folks we just rather maybe ignore or think that maybe they don't deserve God's love. It's so easy to do that with someone who's obviously wronged society, taken lives perhaps. It's easier for us to say, oh, they'll get their just desserts. Well, who are we to say that? But Jesus sees the poor, the outcast, the imprisoned, and sees that this man who is hanging there beside him needs him. Jesus knows that the moment is ripe for change. In our society where our prisons are overcrowded, where there's mass incarceration, where people of color, people who are in poverty do something wrong and they can't make bail, unlike another one who has money in the bank account. They can't make bail and then they lose their jobs, they lose their homes, they lose their families. How just is that? I was very interested to learn that the new district attorney of San Francisco, did you hear about that on the news, was elected, whose parents, when he was a baby, had been, I can't remember what the name of this is, you probably will remember, the Liberation Army that was robbing banks and that kind of stuff. Okay, so his parents were the drive-away person, drove the getaway car. But they were caught, and both of them were imprisoned. His father, he's still in prison, his mother is out. He became a lawyer to work for justice so that there could be turnaround for folks in the system. And one of the things that he ran, one of the things on his platform in the election was to do away with bail, because the bail system allows people who are wealthy to not lose their jobs, to work on turning their lives around. But a person who's poor, justice is based on wealth. How equitable is that? I think Jesus likes that. Can we see others in the same light that Jesus does? Those folks who are imprisoned because of minor drug offenses or because they have a traffic offense, can't make bail, lose their jobs, lose their families, and lose their opportunity to turn around outside the system. Can we look at them, let them be out of the box, and imagine that what they need is something different? Jesus knows what it is that imprisons us. Jesus knows that, and each one of us is imprisoned to something or other. We might not talk about it with other people, but the people who love us may know. When we point our finger, those three are pointed back at ourselves. Jesus' love is so great and so deep and so wide. Jesus does not wear a crown that is a symbol of his ego or of grabbing rights or taking rights away from folks, but loving us to the end and beyond. This is our King. This is our King. Let us worship and adore him and give thanks that he sees us. He sees where we need him. And he always says yes.